It's these stories and plenty others we're watching for you on the 405 Diary. Let's jump straight into it. The issue of evictions is still very much in sharp focus, especially given the evictions that took place in Fleurhof yesterday. I mean, if you were able to catch our 6 o'clock bulletin, we brought you some of the sentiments brought by some of those who were affected by those evictions yesterday. Really quite troubling sentiments and circumstances that they find themselves in. Today we're expecting Joburg Mayor Jeff Makubo and Cooperative Governance MEC Lebogang Maile to visit the area, and our understanding is that they're going to try and ascertain how some of those structures were left vacant, but more importantly perhaps for you and I today is that we're told that there's going to be a handover to the rightful owners of those structures. The immediate question, of course, is why did it take so long for that to happen, especially considering that we heard that some of those quote-unquote rightful owners had been waiting for this handover since about 1995 or so. So it's been, certainly more than 2 decades in the making, and one wonders whether this is just a reaction to how this issue has come into the news cycle in the ways through which it has. So our Sipakema will catch up with these two officials, try help us understand how we got here and why it took so long. We'll also take you to KwaZulu-Natal. An ongoing story is, of course, around the mystery murders in the area of Umthwalume. Police Minister Bheki Cele is expected to make yet another visit to that area. You might remember he was there a few weeks ago to try and ascertain how, these murders took place and speak to community members. The important detail here to remember is that there were 2 suspects who were arrested. One of them allegedly committed suicide in police custody, and that is now being investigated by IPID. The other was implicated by the first, and due to a lack of evidence had to be let go. And so it almost felt like we're back to right where we started in Umthwalume. But of course, residents there are really just reeling over the situation and how the prospect of a serial killer on the loose might still be a very real reality for them. So the police minister, we understand, is visiting that area today to get a sense of how much progress has been made in this investigation, and I imagine to also engage with some of the community members who at this stage probably are also really running out of patience insofar as this is concerned. Karinda Jacques Mahan is on that story for us. In the northwest, the issue of administration or municipalities under administration is still in sharp focus. Deputy Cooperative Governance Minister Obed Babela will be visiting the Ngaka Modiri Molema municipality. This is the one out of 22 municipalities in that province under administration, and it certainly, has their balance books really in a troubling manner, for lack of a better term. One of the issues that were flagged is about 8.9 million rand was spent on the waste water project that still isn't working. What is more distressing is that we understand that this is money, in part, that was meant to be used to address some of the concerns brought on by COVID-19. You might remember yesterday the Auditor General gave a briefing outlining and painting a bleak picture of how the municipalities in that province are faring, and he found that there's about a 47% deficit, and that translates to 2.3 billion rand in irregular expenses. No overstating why the story is worth your attention. That's why Zinhle Kanyane will be bringing us those details throughout the course of the day. Another story we've been watching for you is also the leadership crisis, if you like, that's currently plaguing Brand SA amid widespread allegations of corruption, especially to do with the leadership there. So hopefully Brand SA will be able to finally clear the air and set some records straight. Various stakeholders or implicated parties have had their say at different times and sometimes on different platforms. So after much that's been said, hopefully Brand SA, in the form of a media briefing today, will finally be able to help us understand why a company, ironically, that is meant to bring out the best of South Africa appears to be plagued with its own crisis, reputational crisis at that. So Newsroom Africa will be watching that story for you quite closely. And then, yes, it is the 26th of August, and if you really do pay attention to detail, you'll also know that today marks exactly a year since the passing of former Bosasa boss Gavin Watson, who we were told this time last year died in a car accident. Needless to say that there's still a whole lot more questions than answers about the circumstances surrounding his death. But the timing was telling, because Mr. Watson had died just a day before he was set to testify at the State Capture Commission of Inquiry, and nobody would have guessed what was to follow after that.